Who killed JFK? This is a question that the American citizens have been asking for the past 50 years. This question unfolds more and more as more evidence is released every single year. President Kennedy entered office as an advocate of a stronger line against Fidel Castro's Cuba, and was a fan of the kind of counterinsurgent warfare that the CIA brought to the table. This changed when the Bay of Pigs invasion on Cuba failed. This mission was inherited from the Eisenhower administration. Kennedy accepted the responsibility of the Bay of Pigs failed invasion publicly, but privately blamed the CIA. President Kennedy got the resignation of longtime CIA Director Alan Dulles and other CIA operatives. After that, Kennedy implemented the National Security Action Memorandum No. 55, which transferred control of the military operation to the Defense Department. According to MaryFarrell.org, many CIA officers and Cuban exiles blamed Kennedy for failing to support the operation, in particular canceling a planned second set of airstrikes. Bitterness continued as Robert Kennedy took control of Cuban operations. Tensions between the CIA and the Kennedy family, specifically Robert and Jonathan, only got higher as Kennedy's presidency continued. President Lyndon Johnson, formerly known as Vice President of John F. Kennedy, kept McCone in place at the CIA, and the CIA director became an important witness before the Warren Commission, the panel Johnson created to investigate Kennedy's murder. According to Politico.com, John McCone pledged full cooperation with the commission, which was led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, and testified that the CIA had no evidence to suggest that Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of John F. Kennedy, was part of any conspiracy, foreign or domestic. Many continue to ask to this day, was Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine, a CIA agent? No documentation, though, has ever provided an answer to that question. Even though he had no documentation connecting to the CIA, many conspirators still believe that the reason the CIA did hire him to assassinate JFK was for that particular reason, because he had no correlation with the CIA. But after Oswald had killed Kennedy, some CIA officers and others associated with the CIA did talk. According to MaryFarrell.org, in 2007, Howard Hunt died, leaving behind a taped confession in which he claimed knowledge of the plot to kill Kennedy, but not an active participation, describing himself as a bench warmer. For many who do not know, Howard Hunt was an intelligence officer within the CIA. Not only that, but other associates of the CIA confessed as well, but not intentionally. David Morales, chief of operations at JM Wave, which is a CIA station in Florida, was getting drunk one night with his childhood friend Ruben Garbajo and a business associate named Bob Walton. Both men said that Morales went on a tirade about Kennedy and particularly his failure to support the men of Bay of Pigs. Morales finished this conversation by saying, "Well, we took care of that son of a, didn't we?" Furthermore, many key witnesses died at strategically important moments. Gary Underhill, a CIA agent who claimed the CIA was involved in the JFK assassination, died of a gunshot to the head in May 1964. His death was ruled by a suicide. Guy Bannister, a former FBI agent and acquaintance of Oswald, died in an apparent heart attack in June 1964. Files containing information on his anti-Castro activities were missing by the time authorities reached his office. Now getting into the Warren Commission. The Warren Commission was created by President Lyndon Johnson with the only intent to investigate Kennedy's death. James Whitten, an officer for the CIA, was originally supposed to collect data and investigate the death of JFK, until only a few weeks later, after being assigned the job, he was replaced by Chief of CIA Counterintelligence, James Angleton's Division of Counterintelligence. Many believe this as some think James Angleton played a prominent role in the plot to kill JFK, and by assigning him the job, he would be able to manipulate the evidence getting handed over to the committee of the Warren Commission. But regardless of who was handing over the evidence, conspirators ultimately thought that the Warren Commission was in on it as well, due to the fact that one of the most prominent people within the Warren Commission was former director of CIA Alan Dulles. Now, to top off the entire conspiracy, Lee Harvey Oswald was killed in the basement of the Dallas Police Department while in custody. The murderer's name was known as Jack Ruby. Jack Ruby was the owner of a local Dallas nightclub right down the street from the Dallas Police Department. Not only that, but Ruby was also very good friends with Lee Harvey Oswald, and Ruby showed signs of being involved within the plot to kill JFK. According to riversong.wordpress.com, on November 20th, 2 days prior to Kennedy's assassination in Dallas, one of Ruby's employees at the local nightclub by the name of Rosie Shermy was found bruised and disoriented lying beside a road near Eunice, LA. The state trooper who found her reported that while driving her to the hospital, she described being abandoned by a man named Jack Ruby and another who seemed to be Latin or Italian. They said that they were on their way from Miami to Dallas to kill the president. On the day of the assassination, a teacher by the name of Jean Hill, who had seen the president just die a few feet in front of her, noticed a man running from the area of a wooden fence. In her Warren Commission testimony, she would state that the man looked like Jack Ruby. Now, why would the CIA, with the intent of erasing evidence of their involvement with the assassination, use someone who was associated with the assassination as well? Jack Ruby was diagnosed with lung cancer prior to Oswald getting taken into custody. Whilst being diagnosed with lung cancer, he was not expected to live very long after that. As expected, he died a year later in his jail cell after killing Oswald. In conclusion, the CIA was ultimately behind and involved in the JFK assassination. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to my documentary on who killed JFK.